Hi, everyone. I'm Anjali, and my team and I are so excited to talk to you today about LifeQuest, a game where individuals with disabilities can play their way through life. So, before we start, I want to show this quick clip of a recent campaign for World Down Syndrome Day.
Hey bartender, you assume that I cannot drink a margarita, so you don't serve me a margarita? So I don't drink a margarita. Your assumption becomes reality. And parents, you assume that I cannot live on my own, so you don't encourage me to live on my own. So I don't live on my own. Coach, you assume that I cannot hit harder, so you don't train me to hit harder. So I don't hit harder.
All right, so now let's meet Josh Murphy. He's 19 years old and he has Down syndrome. He is the youngest of 6 siblings, you can see on your left. And one of those siblings is also one of our co-founders over here. Josh is in high school now. He always talks about being like his siblings and going to college, getting a job, moving into his own apartment. And he has a great support system at home that really encourages him and supports him in being as independent as possible. But not all 200 million people around the world with intellectual and developmental disabilities are so lucky. And that's where we come in. We're working on building LifeQuest, which is a real-world simulation game that teaches decision-making and life skills to empower individuals with IDD on their quest for independence and fulfillment in their lives. I am Anjali, the business lead. Shelsea is our marketing lead. Ryan is our finance and tech lead. And Joey is our visionary and research lead. And along with having complementary skill sets, we also have all learned a variety of skills throughout our lives by playing online games. And we're also fortunate to be advised by Tammy Zhu and Sonali Lamba, who are 2 prominent individuals in the entrepreneurship space. And in addition to those that you see on the screen, we've also onboarded a team of developers to help bring LifeQuest to life. So let's see what LifeQuest looks like. This is how it would look as viewed on a tablet. So users can log in through a user account or an admin account where they can access things like accessibility controls or parental controls. And you can see the high level of gamification, as you can see through the quests at the top and the avatar and the LifeQuest points. So let's see what happens when you click on the cooking quest. So here you meet Chef Lisa, who takes you through some guided scenarios. And she'll give you prompts based on your actions in the game. So for example, if you're cooking something on the stove, she might prompt you to turn the stove off after a certain amount of time. And we actually have a clickable website prototype right now that users can click through parts of the game and give us their feedback.
So, as you can see, the market for education software is fragmented, with options ranging from general brain training to academic skills to chores and routines. However, there's a gap in the marketplace for an adaptive and simulative tool that uses realistic visuals and teaches specific and independent living skills, which is where LifeQuest comes in. So, similar to us, who have all learned skills through doing, through repetition, through success and failure, LifeQuest aims to follow the same principles. By gamifying the experience in a realistic simulated environment, LifeQuest motivates users to repeat and retain skills, adapting to the user's experience. So recognizing that parents and caregivers are the ones looking for solutions typically, we plan to reach them through 3 channels. The first being special needs education, with the private side having a higher willingness to pay, and the public side allowing us to scale. We'll then transition to transitional programs and in the long term, healthcare providers. Our pricing strategy starts with raising awareness through partnerships and demos, moving on to providing 1-week free trials, and then offering 3 packages with features that build on themselves. So looking at other independent living services, you'll see that LifeQuest is a much more affordable alternative. And lastly, looking at the 200 million people around the world living with IDD, we're looking at targeting 10% of the US market, representing a 710 million opportunity.
Over the past 6 months, we've held multiple interviews with parents, caregivers, healthcare providers, as well as individuals with IDD, who would be the end user of our product. Something that we learned is that that individuals, young adults with IDD, they really want to be independent. However, the parents are concerned about their safety. LifeQuest, that's when it comes in. And the modules in LifeQuest, it emphasize emergency protocols, first aid, health and safety procedures. Some of the modules that it covers go from cooking to fitness, all the way to money management and public transportation. All of these are skills that they will need for independent living. We know that individuals with IDD are capable of doing a lot. However, they struggle when it comes to repetition and replicability of a skill. So LifeQuest makes sure that they have a safe space where they can try a skill multiple times over and over again until they get it right and then get rewarded for it. We had the opportunity to talk to a Northwestern clinical psychologist PhD who explained to us, who works mainly with individuals with IDD, and explained to us that adults with IDD often fall through the cracks when they age out of school. So this is where LifeQuest comes in, and they support them as they continue in their next stages of life. We're aiming to launch by mid-2025. For this, currently we're working on the prototype and product development through the different feedback that we're getting from the users, as well as we're planning on the early 2025 to already have partnerships with some of the schools so that we can launch in Chicago.
So here at LifeQuest, we believe that individuals with IDD can live independently, which is why we're working to make that transition to independence more positive, meaningful, and sustainable. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there a component of LifeQuest that helps the caregiver, the parent, along this process as well? Can you describe that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So when the user, well, first of all, there's two parts to the account. So there's the user account, and then there's the admin account, which could be a parent or a teacher or whoever. And when the user first makes their account, they'll go through a pre-test, they'll go through creating their profile, answering a bunch of questions, and it'll come up with a learning plan, which will constantly be changing based on their performance, and it'll be optional whether they want to follow that plan or not, but that's kind of to guide if they have someone trying to work with them through the game to guide them through that.
They will also be quite aware of what their kids or what their users are actually doing, what skills they're working on, so they can be and they will know how to support them through it.
Can you guys talk a little bit more about go-to-market? So I understand starting direct-to-consumer, but why not go the healthcare route?
Yeah, so that's just because that is the most complex segment. And we wanted to validate our product and prove it in the market directly with consumers before kind of reaching out to those like insurance companies and healthcare providers and trying to get them on board. But I think that's important to consider in terms of affordability for sure.
Yeah, just to add to that question, I guess, and your answer is there a need for either the medical community or just evidence around the way you're going about teaching folks with this for, I guess, credibility in the market? Is that important? Is there an advisory board that you have of professionals who are helping you develop the content? And just how are you determining the cost?
Yeah, so right now what we're pricing it at is based on our interviews and based on people's willingness to pay and benchmarking against other resources that are used to help people live independently. But more will definitely need to be done on that. And in terms of developing the actual modules and the content, I think that will also be a close partnership. We're looking into working with the psychology department at Northwestern and to get that content developed.
Yeah, I think a key thing here right now, while we're in school, we're looking to use a lot of the resources that Northwestern gives us. So a lot of development effort from the different schools to partner with the Department of Psychology, in addition to some of the contacts, especially with Joey having a brother in this segment that they're already working with in the first place. But we're still conducting lots of interviews.
We also, there it happened to be that some of our professors, as well as admins during the school, they have direct experiences with this. So they have been very helpful with us, just allowing us to have conversations with their relatives, or just them giving feedback on their experiences with their relatives.
I think that hospitalization data point is really important because there's a lot of effort to mitigate hospitalization. So you might find additional money in that prevention category right now in some experimental projects in the healthcare system.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest driver of people not living independently. And so that's the biggest thing that LifeQuest needs to prove that it can overcome.
Thank you.